What's going on, everybody? Another episode of plant-based news for you. There's so much going on in the world this month. It's Veganuary and everybody, including mainstream media, can't stop talking about it.
If I were to say the word Veganuary, do you know what I'm talking about? Well, I barely know what I'm talking about myself, but let me explain. It's Vegan January. It's people cutting back on meat and dairy foods for their New Year's resolution. And many retailers and restaurants have picked up on the trend. They're offering vegan meals and products for sale. And Patrick Kent here, you think this is a dangerous movement. Is that fair to say?
Well, the month of January is actually the middle of winter, and to go on a very strict diet in the middle of winter is quite a dangerous step. So I'd advise anybody to get advice about it.
So here he's saying that going vegan in the middle of winter is strict and dangerous. Let me know in the comments what you think of this outrageous claim, which is just simply not true. You can survive and thrive off of a plant-based diet no matter what the climate is. Even the world's largest organisation of food and nutrition professionals, the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics, last year announced its position on plant-based diets and deemed them quote unquote appropriate for all stages of the life cycle, including pregnancy, lactation, infancy, childhood, adolescence, older adulthood, and for athletes.
And what do you think are the dangers of cutting out all of these products from your diet, your meat and your dairy and chicken?
The biggest problem with diet is people are consuming too much sugar. Back in 1940, the average American consumed a half a pound per year, and now it's a half a pound per day. So all the issues related to weight, obesity and all is sugar related.
So here he's basically saying all issues related to health and obesity are sugar related. What he means is processed sugar, which is obviously bad for human health, but it can be a problem in any diet, but it's not a requisite of a vegan diet. So I don't know why he's linking it to a plant-based vegan diet. I think I do know, actually. It's because he's using it to distract people from the issues at hand. He's using it as a red herring, and as we'll see during the rest of this interview, he keeps doing this.
But you also think, don't you, that cutting out meat is dangerous and cutting out dairy is dangerous, that it could be damaging to your health?
It can be if it's not properly supplemented, and I'd be very wary of the substitutes that may be brought in. They will be heavily processed, and really it's consuming heavily processed foods is the problem.
Okay, but you go further than that, and you have gone further than that, and you say that people who are on vegan diets are malnourished, and people who are malnourished are more likely to commit crimes.
There is no, I didn't say anything about veganism and crime, but there is a correlation between
if you're
crime,
malnourished, you're more likely to commit crimes.
Yeah, it actually has to do with sugar and people cooking. They've done an experiment with people leaving penitentiaries in Texas, and they discovered they got a sector of people to cook and eat a proper diet balanced with the right level of omega-3s. And only 7% of those people reoffended, as against the people that were just let out, as it were, were 57%. So it's a massive. There is a correlation between crime, mental health. Of course, veganism. There is a risk of a higher level of Alzheimer's and brain degenerative diseases with veganism. Yes, there is.
Wow, I'm speechless because so much of what this guy has said in the last minute is so wrong. The opposite is true. A plant-based diet has been shown to actually be good for Alzheimer's. The more you move towards a plant-based diet, so for example, data shows that a Mediterranean diet is better and correlates with decreased prevalence of Alzheimer's, and berries and whole plant foods have been shown to be actually quite good at preventing Alzheimer's. So I don't know what this guy is talking about, but it's definitely false.
Did you know that, Keith? You eat a plant-based diet,
a plant-based diet, yeah.
Did you know that you're
watch your handbags, everybody. The reason I'm vegan, it's a health thing for me. My father would have had heart problems when he was my age, so when I approached the age he was when he had heart problems, I looked into the best diet for me. And a plant-based diet is the best thing. Cut out meat, cut out your, get rid of the fats, get rid of things that can block up your arteries. You know, in some cases.
But do you have to take supplements to replace all of the good things that you would have been getting from the things you've cut out of your diet?
Of course, yeah, but it's like anybody eating anything, any kind of diet, you really need to make sure you're getting a bit of everything. I'm not really sure where the processed thing comes into, because I cook everything from scratch now. I eat very little processed stuff, and there's nothing processed about a tin of chickpeas. It's literally chickpeas in a tin.
Did you miss the meat and the dairy and the chicken? And I don't know if you don't eat fish either, do you?
No,
so did you miss all of those things when you first embarked on this?
Not at all. Like, I mean, I started from scratch. Literally, I got a book. The Happy Pair do a book. I learned a couple of handy meals to make. I kind of lived on them for a couple of weeks until I expanded, you know, what I could and what I couldn't eat. But I mean, you're eating burritos, you're eating curries, you're eating stews. You're just not putting any meat into them. You have to be a little bit careful if there's anybody watching thinking of becoming a vegan. You've got to make sure you're getting your B12s and stuff like that. There's supplements out there.
He doesn't look malnourished, Patrick, does
No,
he?
I didn't suggest anybody. Like, you can actually, I was in Africa, and the only obese person I met there was actually vegetarian.
I don't know.
Right, yeah.
This is another crazy claim he makes in order to derail veganism. Firstly, it's an anecdote. Secondly, it's an irrelevant anecdote because we're not talking about vegetarians, we're talking about vegans. Vegetarians, unlike vegans, consume dairy, they consume eggs, so I don't know why he has brought this up. But if he wants to talk about plant-based eaters in the context of BMI and obesity, let's talk about it. Population studies such as the EPIC Oxford trial show that vegans on average have a normal BMI, unlike any other group the study looked at. And the broad study done in New Zealand, which boasts the title being the most effective method for weight loss in obese people 6 and 12 months without calorie restriction, it just used a plant-based diet. And the studies that I mentioned just now, they haven't necessarily put people on a whole food plant-based diet. So my point is, if you're eating a relatively okay vegan diet in terms of healthy-ish vegan diet, overall you're going to be healthy, you're going to have a normal weight status, you're not going to be obese.
The only obese person I met there was actually vegetarian.
I don't know.
Right, yeah. But he did consume 10 red cans every day.
So here the president of the Farmers Association just proved my point. He's basically saying that the reason the vegetarian was obese was because he had lots of processed food, and it's nothing to do with the fact that he started cutting out animal products. But unfortunately, because this guy speaks of authority and he's got a lot of presence, he just confuses people.
10 red cans.
Every day as well.
Anyone here in our audience like to get involved in this debate? We have some hands raised over here. We might come to the girl in the white jacket, the lady in the white jacket. Go ahead.
Hi, my name is AILIS BROSNAN. I'm vegan 21 years and I've yet to commit a crime. I'm actually absolutely thriving on a vegan diet. The only thing I need to supplement with is B12. I eat a very healthy diet. My children are vegan. I've just completed an Ironman triathlon a couple of months ago. I'm training for an ultramarathon. I'm definitely not malnourished. I'm full of energy, full of beans, quite literally.
Tell me why you are a vegan, why you made that decision.
When I realised that there were plenty other food options that I could use, that I could choose rather than contributing to the suffering of animals. There really is absolutely an abundance of foods out there now, and it's getting easier and easier. It definitely wasn't easy 21 years ago, but it's definitely, Ireland has changed so much now. There's so much more available. So there's vegan restaurants even in Clare and Cork and in Dublin. It's just fantastic, the availability of foods that are available to us now.
The lady in front of you in the black top with your hand raised. Yep, go ahead.
Hi. Yeah, if people want to go vegan, they really need to look at the ethics behind it. So if they watch a documentary film like Earthlings, which is available for free online, it looks at the 5 ways that we use animals. So for food, for clothing, for entertainment, for sport, and research. And it'll open people's eyes as to what we do to animals and why people go vegan and how they stay vegan.
Okay, anyone who from the other side of the debate? Yeah, gentleman here with the red tie and the raised hand. Go ahead, we'll start with you.
Hi, Cormac Healy. I work with the meat industry in Ireland, so I probably have a vested interest. But the last time I was on the show that you discussed veganism, you had a nutritionist on, and I think we need to listen to the experts in this area as well. And she urged caution in relation to the vegan diet.
So now this person is giving credence to the doubt created by the dietitian that was previously on the show that said you can be vegan, but you have to be really careful. It's so annoying that these TV shows always feature these so-called experts like the nutritionists and the dietitians and the doctors that have such a watered down, tame message that doesn't really reflect reality. But to be honest, it doesn't surprise me that much, because I found a study recently published by the British Medical Journal found that over 50% of what TV doctors recommend is not supported by science.
The experts recommend a balanced diet, and they also say that meat is part of a balanced diet. And I think that's, after that, it's a question of choice. But I think we need to remember that meat forms a very good part of a balanced diet.
Meat is part of a balanced diet, apparently. Well, some institutions, authorities still do make this claim, but I'm here to say that this is an old school way of thinking that doesn't reflect the current data. A plant-based diet has been scientifically proven to prevent and in some cases reverse 14 of the 15 leading causes of death in the West. And it's because of this that the world's largest organisation of food and nutrition professionals, as I said before, supports plant-based eating, as well as people like Dr. Kim Williams, the immediate past president of the US College of Cardiology, who recommends a plant-based diet. So to recap, you don't need animal products in your diet, and the more you move away from them, the healthier you'll be. Yet they continue to peddle misinformation.
Say yourself you have a vested interest, Cormac, in this. Are you worried about veganism growing in popularity?
Well, certainly it's getting a lot of airplay. It's my second time on this show in relation to it, and rather than any other issue. So
we only talk about things that people are talking about. So
I understand you're with the topics, but yes, it's something we have to, I suppose, communicate and learn to communicate as well, because it's getting a lot of attention. But I think we need to communicate and back to the balanced diet, and that our own authorities and public health authorities recommend meat as part of a balanced diet.
Patrick, you want to come back in?
Yeah, I do. I suggest anyone that wants to go on a diet to look up keto and ketogenic and the ketosis state. Now, you have to be careful doing it.
If you look at the longest lived populations, the healthiest populations in history, they've all had a high carb diet, and the truth is getting out there. I remember last week I saw an article called Ketogenic and Dukan ranked the worst fad diets in AILIS. Okay, that was in a newspaper, but what they're basically saying is it's not really based on any data.
Meat and I've changed my diet to instead of drinking red cans and stuff, I drink milk now. And I find a lot better. I have a lot more energy.
Okay.
I'm healthier. I haven't been ill for 4 years, touch wood. And I've never had a cough, cold, anything. And I think meat as a proportion of a regular balanced diet is
entitled to make their choices.
Absolutely. But unfortunately, impressionable young people can be given ill advice, and it can affect their development, and particularly their brain development.
You can be given ill advice by somebody telling you should eat meat. I mean, you can be given ill advice by anybody. Young people who want to look into eating no meat should look into it, and they should research it. It's never been easier to find out all the information you want to find out about not eating meat, and I encourage everybody to have a look.
Okay.
And I know that you described the whole vegan movement as a cult before, and I would ask anybody, you know, maybe if you landed from another planet and you looked at two groups of people, and one group of people were just eating things that grew, another group of people were killing other animals and eating their flesh, which would you think seems more like a cult?
Okay,
I just want
to bring in some more people in the audience and give you a chance afterwards. Man with the check shirt there, your hand has been raised, and the gentleman beside you, maybe if you just both give me your points quickly. Thank you.
Look, my point is I'm a beef. And
oh, sorry, we're going to the man in the check shirt behind you. Yeah, go ahead.
I'm CASSELLS. I'm a beef farmer from County Meath. I'm also national chairman of Macron Pharma. By all means, this is about choice, and people should have that choice to eat whatever they want. We as farmers would never suggest that you have to eat our product. However, it's important that people are making that decision based on fact. We see a large-scale advertising campaign on billboards and bus shelters at the moment. Netflix documentaries of questionable factual content.
So he's saying there's too much vegan propaganda, but this is stupid, as it completely overlooks the fact that there are so many large-scale, big-budget meat industry advertising campaigns that bombard us with so much misinformation.
There's a lot of falsehoods being put forward, and when those falsehoods are being put forward, people could be making decisions that aren't based on fact.
Okay, and gentleman beside you with the glasses, and then I'll come to yourself. Yeah, go ahead.
Thanks, Claire. James Healy, President of Macron Pharma. Again, to what EAMON says, every young farmer would respect anybody's choice to live whatever lifestyle they choose. And to, I suppose, echo what has been said, if you choose to go down a vegan lifestyle, that we would ask that you follow the correct nutritional advice. But what the qualm we would have is that online farmers are being portrayed as rapists and murderers, and we're here, we have to make a living.
And of animals.
Of animals. But no, there's no distinction. Online, there is no distinction. We're being labelled rapists and murderers.
So the farmer here is saying that he's been labelled as a rapist and murderer. I'd never use those words ever to describe anybody. But the point I want to make here is that this is a classic case of a member of an aggressor playing victim. He's in an industry that supports animal abuse, and yet he's saying the real crime is what people label him. Think about that. It doesn't make any sense.
I did, yeah. It was just, we're talking about facts and misinformation, but as Sandra Higgins pointed out the last time she was on here, when it comes to the International Dietetics Association's position on the healthfulness of a vegan diet. They say that it is suitable for all stages of life, from birth up until old age. So that is a reputable source.
So you think it's safe?
Of course. If you look at greatveganathletes.com, they're successful, healthy sports people in many ranges of sports, endurance, strength. The only person who qualified for the Olympics in the American team was a vegan powerlifter, so it's proved.
The gentleman in the brown velvet jacket, I think it is. Yeah, your hand is raised. Go ahead. Yes, go ahead.
Yeah,
yourself.
that's me.
Yeah.
Look, I think there should be choice. It's okay for everybody to have a choice, but I think it's unfair to castigate the people that look after animals day in, day out. It's a 24-hour job. We take great pride and love, and often the farmer will look after the animal before he'll look after himself. He'll definitely get the vet before he'll get the doctor. He will certainly, and the type of farm we have in Ireland in particular, or think of George Lee's previous documentary, when you saw those hills in Connemara and so forth. If there are not animals grazing those hills will no longer be beautiful.
So you're saying animals are needed to graze the land. Well, animals could graze the area, but they don't need to be farmed and abused and killed to do that. Just let them live out their lives.
And if people don't eat animals, we will not be able to sell them. We will not have an industry based on it.
Put your points to Keith here, and the point which you've heard from a good few of the farmers there is that they feel they're being cast in a very negative light, and that it is unfair because many of them, they tell us, treat their animals fairly, with respect and with dignity.
Yeah, if you're going to kill them in the end, I suppose. You know, what's fair about that? You know, they're going to look after them because they're a product. You know, you're going to look, if you're in Tesco and you're the manager of Tesco, you're going to look after your cartons of milk. Do you know what I mean? They're a product. That's what at the end of the day, you need to bring them to market and you need to sell them for meat. So you're going to look after them. That's why you look after them. They're not your children. Like, you wouldn't kill your children and sell them for meat. Do you know what I mean? It's not like you're looking after them like that. Of course you'd call the vet before you'd call the doctor. If you ran a garage, you'd call the mechanic before you'd call the doctor.
Patrick?
I would say vets actually have a greater understanding of nutrition, and animals are actually nourished very, very well. There's about 100 different products now that can nourish animals. And unfortunately, people select, according to their taste buds and maybe ideology as well. And so nutrition should be taught in schools, and I think it should be brought right back there. And to follow on with what those gentlemen said, farmers now are at a very busy time of the year. They're watching animals 24/7 because there's a lot of animals starting to give birth and so on. And they put in a huge amount of effort for that. Now, listen, we are prepared to put a field aside to feed vegans also. But chickpeas, I'm not so sure. Quinoa, I'm not so sure about because they won't grow here.
So he's tacitly implying that chickpeas are bad because they're from abroad. But the reality is many plant-based foods can be grown and are grown in the UK and Ireland. I've noticed that this is a new it's a new tactic to attack veganism by picking on one specific product to criticise specific foods, whether it's mangoes or like avocados from the Mexican rainforest or quinoa from Bolivia. But these are arguments against, for example, ordering or getting quinoa from Bolivia. They're not arguments against veganism.
You can go on, and Tesco have just brought out a new range of vegan food as well, which is excellent. It's very handy now, so I'd encourage everybody to look into it, be responsible. I'm running a marathon in a couple of weeks, so I feel healthy, I feel great. I don't feel malnourished. I've never knowingly committed a crime. It's there. The information's out there. Have a look at it. Make sure you're eating the right foods and you're getting all the
fantastic meat counters also in Tesco, and they're fantastic buyers of Irish beef and lamb, and grass-fed beef and lamb are premium products that cannot be got in lots of parts of the world, so we are privileged to have them here.
Okay, so he's plugging grass-fed meat, but there's so many issues with this. Firstly, you can't humanely kill any animal. It doesn't matter how you bring them up. It's just the biggest oxymoron ever. Secondly, it's not a health food, despite what these people say. Thirdly, if you look at our population size, there's just not the space to allow for this kind of production.
They've got the right omega balance of omega 3s to 6s, which is very, very important to reduce inflammation. Most heart clogged arteries, by the way, is as a result of inflammation in the arteries as a result of the wrong balance of omegas and the wrong level of sugar in the diet.
This couldn't be further from the truth. In fact, it's a plant-based diet that's been shown to be really anti-inflammatory. And regarding the fact that he's brought up clogged arteries, the only diet that's ever been shown to reverse heart disease has been a plant-based diet.
Well, look, I don't think...
And methane is ruining the atmosphere.
I don't think Patrick's going to convert our vegans, and I don't think that you're going to convert our farmers. So we'll leave it there, and we'll come back to this one. I'm sure we will again. Thank you very much indeed.
So in conclusion, it's clear that this guy is just talking in circles. It introduces so many fallacies and scapegoat issues in order to confuse people. I don't think he's doing this intentionally, but it's certainly having that effect. And it's such a shame that the public probably watching that TV show probably don't really know how to get healthy now, do you know what I mean? So it's a bit of a shame, but it's why we do what we do. If you want to donate and support our mission, please check out the donate link down below. And thank you to everybody that's translated our films and our videos. This is really, really appreciated. Keep on doing that if you have been. And that's it. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe, like, share, comment, all that jazz, and see you in the next video.